Hi guys, Korean movie recapped here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm going to recap a 2016 Korean thriller movie called Pandora. An earthquake strikes the small town where Jae-Hyeok lives and causes explosions at the nearby nuclear power plant. The situation quickly spirals out of control, leading the entire nation to panic. Jae and his friends grew up in a slow town near a nuclear power plant. He lives with his mother, sister-in-law and nephew. The town was promised a better future by the construction of the nuclear plant as it offers them jobs and stable living conditions. But it has also taken away other livelihoods such as tourism and fishery. This makes people in his town don't have other choices besides working at the plant. He hates his job and desperately wants out, but feels duty-bound to stay with his family. One day, he tells his girlfriend, Yun, that he is planning to leave the town and go abroad. This makes her angry at him as she doesn't have anyone else to rely on in the town besides him. His mother also opposes his plan despite her resenting the plant too. Jae's father and brother were also workers at the nuclear plant. They both died as a result of a working accident at the plant. She sees Jae as an incapable and lazy man because he lost his father's accident compensation money when he opened a business with the money, so she can't let him go by himself. Feeling annoyed, Jae continues working at the plant. During a working shift, he decides to ditch the town and disappears. But it's already too late. A disaster is waiting for him at the plant. Meanwhile in Seoul, a youthful and idealistic President Kang reads a report by Park, a chief engineer at Hambyul nuclear plant, about safety concerns and maintenance corners being cut at Hambyul. The report is given directly by his wife because many officials are trying to bury the report, including the Prime Minister and his team. Knowing this, he summons the Prime Minister to confront him about the report. The Prime Minister tells him that he rushed the nuclear power plant bill to revive the national economy and insists to not waste government resources to quarrel about it. Park gets transferred to another place because he blew the whistle about the plant situation. The disaster starts when a 6.1 magnitude earthquake shakes the town and damages the power plant. Jae calls his family to make sure they are okay. One of the valves is damaged and needs immediate repair. Worried about the plant, Park goes back to assess the situation, but the other chief engineer there underestimates the situation. The engineers repair the valve hastily, but the pressure inside the pipe rapidly increases, making the nuclear coolant pipe burst, injuring the engineer, and leaking radiation. Jae sees the engineers being carried away, which makes him remember what happened to his father and brother. He wants to leave the plant immediately, but his friend refuses to follow him. He gives up the idea and helps the other repair the plant. Outside, the town is damaged by the earthquake, but all of the people survive with only minor injuries. The Prime Minister tries to hide the plant incident, but President Kang finds out about it and becomes furious. The Prime Minister wants to cover up the accident and make the evacuation operation as small as possible to prevent national panic and mass chaos. The Prime Minister's team convinces him that the plant is equipped with control units and will soon overcome the problem. President Kang doesn't have any other choice and agrees. So they only notify nearby towns and evacuate them silently. Jae's family and girlfriend get into a bus and evacuate with the other people from their town. In the control unit room, the engineer is in panic. The nuclear containment internal pressure keeps rising and will explode if they can't figure out the solution soon. They need to vent out the air inside the containment, but it will leak radiation into the surrounding area. The president decides to hold the venting process and finish the evacuation process first. Knowing about this, the workers inside the plant panic and ditch their work. One of the chief engineers seals the exit and forces them to go back to their station. The workers ignore him and try to bypass the sealed door but fail. Because of the situation, Park decides to vent the nuclear reactor against the order. But the system malfunctioned, forcing the engineer to open the vent manually. The plant is having a nuclear meltdown, and when the pressure hits the limit point, all hell breaks loose. The nuclear plant explodes. The explosion kills most of the workers inside the plant, but Jae survives with a minor injury and helps his wounded friend to get outside. On the way outside, he meets Park and tries to get out together. The rescue team arrives at the plant, but the situation is bad. They can't go near the plant because the radiation level is too high. The Prime Minister insists on covering the explosion. His team denies all rumors about the plant explosion to the media. At the shelter, people start questioning about the situation, whether they need to go further or not. Yun goes back to the plant to see the real situation. She is shocked after seeing that the plant has already exploded, but relieved when she meets Jae outside the plant. But instead of going with them, Jae decides to go back inside to help the others despite the high radiation level. Yeon and the others try to stop him, but he insists. Park also goes back inside and tells the rescue team to go closer. They finally decide to go closer to the plant and spray the area with water to help bring down the radiation level and pump coolant to the nuclear fuel road. Jae's friend gets treated at the medical tent with the rest of the victims. The medical team decontaminates them with water before treating them to minimize the radiation poisoning. Despite their effort, the situation doesn't look good. Yeon goes back to the shelter to notify Jae's family that he is okay, but she lied about his whereabouts. She also tells the real situation to the other people, which makes them immediately pack things up and go outside the shelter to move away further. But the authorities lock them inside and jam the area phone signal, preventing them to share the real situation with the rest of the nation. Jae keeps helping trapped workers until nightfall. He accidentally gets splashed by radiated water while helping inside. His body can't keep up with the radiation and he collapses. He immediately rushed to the medical tent to receive treatment. The rescue team has run out of water, so they retreat to get some more. Park wonders why they don't use the seawater. He finds out that the head office has forbidden them to use seawater to prevent the decommissioning of the power plant. This makes him angry because the higher politician still thinks about the plant's functionality despite the situation. The radiation level is starting to take a toll to the rescue team's health. They are now exhausted and starting to show radiation poisoning symptoms. The International Atomic Energy Agency finds out about the accident and alerts the other international agencies about it. Foreign countries are starting to evacuate their citizens from Korea. The media started to cover the explosion incident, resulting in national panic and mass chaos. The whole nation starts to panic and moves away from the explosion area. Yeon notices that the authorities guarding them have abandoned the shelter. Together they bust down the locked gate and get on the bus. A high amount of radiation has leaked outside of the plant, so they need to move further away. The medical team at the medical tent also starts abandoning the victims. Only a few brave ones stay there to keep treating the victims. Jae wakes up and immediately tries to find his phone. He calls Yeon to tell her to bring his family as far as possible and promises that he will follow them soon. The road is way too jammed, making Yeon doesn't have any other choice than to drive on the opposite lane. But eventually, they face another road jam, forcing them to walk. Park is frustrated by the situation when suddenly he gets a call from the president. They start to communicate and discuss the situation directly. President Kang takes over the control and declares a state of emergency. He decides to decommission the plant and start to use seawater to spray the site. Furthermore, he orders the shutdown of all remaining nuclear power plants in Korea until the situation has been assessed. The rescue team starts to flood the nuclear core with seawater, making the radiation level drop. They have one more problem. The coolant level at the fuel rod tank is dropping. The earthquake cracked the floor, making the coolant leak underneath. If the fuel road is in contact with the air, it will cause a bigger explosion and more radiation will leak outside. They must seal the crack, but the room underneath is full of radiated water, making it a suicide mission for anyone trying to seal the crack. The president shows up on the TV to announce the situation to the whole nation. He also begging for anyone who is willing to help them with the suicide mission. Jae's friend sees it and proposes to his coworkers to volunteer for the mission. At first, they oppose the idea, but because of the radiation poisoning, they don't have much longer to live anyway. So they decide to do it for the sake of their family. Jae-Hyeok calls Yeon to tell her about their plan. She makes him promise to her to get out alive no matter what happens. But again, she lies to his family about his whereabouts. The team is getting ready for the mission. It will be led by Park. They are provided with painkillers to ease their pain as the room is full of radiated water. They only have 5 to 10 minutes each before their body gives up. On the way, they see their destroyed town and reminisce about their past life there. Once they are inside the plant, they gather up at the room entrance. They split the team into several smaller teams and go inside in shifts of 5 to 10 minutes. Once they can't endure the radiation, the next team will continue the sealing process. But unexpectedly, the crack grows bigger and is about to burst. Their plan has failed. They are about to leave the plan when Jae proposes a radical idea. They don't have to seal the crack, instead, they need to block the entrance and break the ceiling so the fuel road will fall down and the room will become another tank itself. They start to execute the new plan. But it has one flaw. One of them must sacrifice themselves and detonate the bomb inside after they finish sealing up the entrance. Jae is the only candidate as he is the only one who has the skill to handle explosives. He agrees to sacrifice himself and goes into the room. As he waits until the sealing is done, the radiation is taking a toll on his body. He takes the whole bottle of the painkiller. He wants to call Yun but his phone gets no service. He tells Park to ask the president to broadcast him to the TV so he can say goodbye to his family. Yun gets the news that Jae is on the TV, so they go inside a nearby bus and watch him from there. He says his final goodbye to his family and apologizes to Yun because he can't keep his promise. After the sealing is done, the remaining team goes outside and Jae-Hyeok detonates the bomb. His sacrifice is not in vain as his plan is working. On the following days, the remaining team dies one by one from radiation poisoning. President Kang declares them as national heroes. In the end, the nuclear power they once relied on has brought disaster upon them. They only think that nuclear power plants are convenient for people's lives and the nation's economy, but they forget about the risk hiding underneath. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.